Good day, everyone. Welcome. I'm so grateful to be here. I almost didn't make it back from my event. I was away over the full moon weekend at Vidette Lake with Adventures for Connection. We had a phenomenally powerful, healing, transformational time, and I'm back in the studio today. I'm just wanting to jump on and have a check of my audio. Please give me a moment here. Yeah, that looks good. Let me know if there's any challenge with the sound. I'm sorry because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it back and who was going to be able to come on the live with me, and there's no one else available. So here we are. Hello, Handle with Care, Ricky, Rose Garden, Cass, lovely to see you. I'm seeing that you have a question, Cass. I'm going to put it up here. We'll start with this. What advice for young people entering the workforce? What skills do the young people need in the new world? What jobs will be obsolete? What an amazing question. I'm just going to take a second here to clear the cards and tune in around this topic. I feel like we get caught up a lot in current events, and I have so much empathy for our young people because they are coming into, it's already a pretty big deal to evolve into a fully fledged member of society and make choices about what you're going to do with your future. I mean, when we were at that turning point, it was challenging enough just with our own inner processes and family systems. Now we have a world that is so much on the brink of uncertainty, and I have heard firsthand from a lot of late teens, early 20-somethings that they really, in a way, are throwing their hands up and saying, gosh, we don't even know. We don't know what to do, especially if they are somewhat awake. I feel like for a lot of the young people who are raised in, let's call it mainstream, more or less sleeper type families, it's business as usual. They're kind of like, oh yeah, you go to college and university, study something that you're sort of interested in, and you get a job, maybe aim towards a professional career. For those of us that are awake and aware, we've raised our children, I want to say, to think more laterally, more diverse, that just having one skill, one professional career may not serve us well in the dynamic, changeable times ahead, that diversity and flexibility may be a better option. I have my own personal sort of feelings and intuitions about this, but I want to start by looking at what the cards say about what sort of jobs. Let's start off with what jobs are going to be the most valuable and where would it be most ideal for this younger generation coming into their self-actualization to focus. So here we have, right, I keep forgetting it's right side up now. So here we have the younger generation, and one of the things that I notice about them, I mean, this is the Page of Cups. So there's a beautiful, I want to say, innocence, and it's interesting. The guides are saying, as I've described what my experience of watching young people birthing into their adult selves at this juncture, I feel a lot of concern because I know how different it is from how it was when I was that age. But I also am aware, looking at this, that these young souls, or old souls in young bodies, have come in with the right landing gear, is what I'm hearing. They've come in, this is what they came for. This is what they were designed for. So they have a natural preclusion to live in the moment. They're generally more sensitive. I mean, we see this energy of some degree of what we call the autism spectrum, which really you could also describe as the sensitivity spectrum, is so much more prevalent in these younger generations of people. Some people say it's because we've raised them too soft. Most obviously, these things, they're born with these things. They're born with these sensitivities. This isn't something like, maybe we've created some more issues by not giving them as much structure and boundaries, healthy boundaries, all of that left aside. What I feel and sense here is that there's something in their sensitivity. I mean, one of the things, if you've ever worked with children with autism, is that it's impossible to force them to do something they don't want to do. They are very much like they'll put themselves at risk before they will be pressured into doing something. So, what is that? That, in essence, is about being phenomenally sovereign. And what we're seeing here is that there is a sovereignty in the realm of, we think of emotions as being something very soft and, easily bulldozed over. But if you've ever worked with children with autism, they're not easily bulldozed over. So let's start with this. Let's start with, this is the children, this is the generation. I'm not saying that all young people have autism, but I'm saying overall, there's a much stronger energy of that self-definition and being very led by their own internal compass. Just gonna jump over here and check to see. Okay. Oop. Sounds good. Thank you, Freedom. What sort of work? What sort of careers? Well, this is fascinating. Not what I would have expected. We've got the Queen of Swords here. So let's start by saying, I want to say this is about social structure. The Queen of Swords is an administrator. She's also a visionary, and her design, like you could say the King of Swords would be more the design architect engineer. This woman is a social engineer. So there's something about working with communication, with groups, with vision around organizing people, management, but it's all related to like going, because your question was about the new earth, the new world. Well, let's make a bit of a disclaimer. We're not talking about the new world order. We're talking about more like new earth, which is coming into a harmonic, which isn't about winners and losers, power dominance, and people who are being exploited, resources that are being exploited. It's about a higher frequency potential for humanity, which is collaborative, which is a win-win situation instead of winners and losers and that sort of stuff. This queen is also known for boundaries. So it's interesting. We have this very innocent page that's being led by their own inner desire or heart. And then the Queen of Swords is a lot about protecting that, protecting the right to have that as your guidance system. So not quite what I was expecting, but let's see what else comes through here. Okay, we have another page in the recent past. So this page around technology, one of the things that we're seeing is that obviously, our youth have been highly influenced by technology. And we could see, careers in technology possibly, but personally, that is not so much my preference. I do, however, see that these young people will likely work using technology as a bridge to create, I want to say, social change, political change, change in the narrative, better systems, better rules. So, yes, they're into technology, they're into rapid fire communication, and they have skills with those things. And yet, they're not as easily fooled as we might think. They're not as easily, I want to say, captured by that technology as we might think. I hope that's true. Okay, so the next thing we have is also the other thing that this younger generation is really good at is shifting on a dime. They are very adaptable and they are also comfortable with a lot of, I want to say, let's just say distraction, or a lot more information, a lot more data being sort of run through the system. I know my younger child often says to me, I learn better when I've got one thing going on one device and another thing going on another device, and I'm doing two things at once. Because they find in some cases that just one kind of old fashioned lecture style speaker, their brains just go into automatic pilot because they're used to a lot of stimulation. So, not that that's a good thing, but you're asking about what do they need to be effective in these transitional times? What sort of work, skills are going to be valuable? I would say skills around strategizing with groups of people. So anything in the realm of communication, mediation, organizing people, and also working with technologies, but using them to head in this new direction, using them as springboard platform. Like kind of working within those technologies. Okay. Now, all right, we've got the last one is what they're going to be struggling with during this time. And it really is more than anything energetic burnout. So I would be concerned that it would be psychological struggle. And we have seen a lot of that with our youth. We have seen a lot of depression and, teenage suicide and things like that. I actually feel like what we're heading into is a time where they're going to need more support in morning, Crystal. They're going to need more support in dealing with just energy in general and burnout. So really great skills working with burnout, how to go into rest and recuperation. We talked about this a lot at the retreat I was at over the weekend, and you almost need to, like, literally, I mean, we had no Wi-Fi, no cell service. Everybody, it was amazing how quickly everyone adapted to that and were just so present. It was like we were all just so thirsty for it. It was just like these sponges showing up and sucking all the just the feeling energy and the connection energy that's available when there just isn't even the option of the device. The difference between making your boundary with your device versus there isn't a device. There's no option. It's not even there. And everybody just immediately relaxes. So I feel like the younger generation are going to need to learn. They're going to work with the energy of technology, communication, making boundaries, directing, sort of, I want to say, social, political, mediation style stuff, they're also going to need breaks from all of that. Like, they can handle a lot, but they need to really get away from it as well. And it's interesting, we think about midwifery, we think about the birth process, and we have in this card, in the world, it is a type of birth. You can see the world dancer is literally being birthed out onto the world stage through the cosmic egg. And yet we also have a death here. So midwifery happens at both beginning and end of life. In fact, we have now something called death midwives, death doulas. And this generation are going to need to really work with. I feel like we're going to be having a lot more open, we're not going to be living in a death denial society anymore. So new relationships with these processes, these transitions, letting go of the old. There's going to be a lot of letting go, tremendous amount of letting go. But this group came in, they're, I want to say, interdimensional spiritual galactic midwives. So they let them grow into those skills because this is their natural ability. Wow, not at all what I expected. I would have personally said, oh, we want everybody working in land-based, working with the land, working with resources, doing, working in the 3D, doing cleanup, doing, new resource management type stuff, maybe environmental type stuff. No, that's not what we see here. I guess it's almost like what we're talking about is a skill set that will be required no matter what they work in. So the skill set is about, everything to do with communication, everything to do with working with groups, like social engineering on a positive level is what I'm seeing here. Okay. We got a lot of questions. I'm going to try to quickly rotate through them all here. It does really help me if you put them in capital letters. Otherwise, it's harder for me to kind of, my eyesight isn't perfect. These are not reading glasses. These are blue light blocking glasses. I work on screen a lot, and so I protect myself this way. Anyway, it helps if you put your questions in capital letters. Are the fires and evacuations of Jasper a military cleanup or actually wildfire? Okay, this is a big question. There's fires all over the planet. We could go down a lot of different rabbit holes around what's creating these fires. What I'm hearing in general with your question, Rose, is this a natural phenomena? Is it there to be a cover or literally, pardon the pun, a smokescreen for other operations? Let's have a look at that. I'm going to actually lay two piles. On this side, it's going to be natural phenomena. And on this side, it's going to be engineered smokescreen. So we'll see which has more, more credence. So natural phenomena on this side. Interesting. Smokescreen. Okay. I have to say, I'm actually going to look at a third option, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay. So the first side, natural phenomena, we've got 5 of Wands, 3 of Cups, and the Lovers. Well, The Lovers is really about, I want to say decisions that have been made. And so it would indicate that there is quite a degree of human influence on what's happening. It all isn't just natural. And yet, I also feel there is something purposeful in this. And yeah, I just keep looking at they're showing me different percentages, and it's all morphing as I look at it. It's like really hard to pin down. Is it 40% this, 60% that? Like, is it 60% natural, 30 or 40% artificial? Um, are we looking at a natural phenomena that is being accelerated and then hijacked for purposes to do with covering things? I would say that's very likely it, because look at this. We've got the hermit working undercover, working in the dark. You see him? He's literally like out by himself in the dark sky or the smoke-filled sky doing something. And then we also have a protection card here. And then we also have the Fool. So I'm going to read it like that. I'm going to say that what I see is that there's a natural thing happening here. When you have extreme weather fluctuations like we've had here in certainly Western Canada, probably lots of other places from what I can see on the global fire map and heat map, is that we've gone from having a lot of cold, and then we've had huge spikes in heat, and that consequence of those extreme fluctuations has created these weather systems with a lot of lightning storms. And then, it's gone from being really almost like flooding conditions to being suddenly now we're back in drought again, because we've had not just the normal amount of summer sunshine, but like, 20 to 30 solid days of heat dome with hardly any rain, no rain virtually. So here we go. We are having this phenomena of the conditions have been somewhat manipulated artificially. It is a natural process, but there is some hijacking of that, and people have exasperated what's already nature doing its thing. They've sort of manipulated nature to some extent. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not seeing like, laser being fired from outer space starting the fires. I am seeing more natural causes, but I also do feel that a lot of it is down to weather manipulation. Now, like I've said before, I feel that on some level, all of this craziness can be attributed, if you zoom out way far, it is supposed to unfold something like this. So we're not just victims of something that shouldn't be happening. There's, I've actually seen a phenomena where almost like the forests and the tree spirits are saying, we want to clear a lot of the memory of what's gone on this planet while we've been alive. And so on some level, the deities of nature are complicit in what's happening. It's very hard to pin it down, folks. It's very hard to say, who's doing what. But overall, I see that humans have exasperated it. They are hijacking it and using it for these purposes, but it isn't as, they don't have as much control over that as some of the narratives seem to suggest. It's kind of like you're still dealing with the holy, wild, natural world of elements. It's never completely controllable and tameable. So, all right. Hope that's been helpful. Again, as I said, my apologies. It's really, really hard to get very, very direct answers, but I hope that what we see here gives you the perspective to, lean into seeing the complexity as being very purposeful, that it's not just a black and white scenario. Okay, let's see here. Will school start in August for kids? Will school start in August for kids is being asked by Roman. Okay. I'm not sure where you are, but I guess what we're asking, I'm assuming maybe North America. So let's just have a look at that. School in August. I think what I want to actually ask this question is, as going into the fall this year, is our children in Western civilization just going to go back to school? Is that going to be, are we going to carry on into a fall like that? That's kind of what I'm feeling, because some dates start in August, some in September. I hope it's okay if I just overall ask, are we going to go back to school this fall? So we've got Nine of Swords and the Knight of Cups. Eight of Pentacles in the past, Knight of Pentacles in the present, Six of Swords in the potential future. You'll notice, give you a little education here in tarot. I don't know if you can see this, but all these, we've got two knights, both going in the same direction, and we've got a boat that's literally ferrying people in that same direction, which is the direction of the future. And it is ferrying, it looks like, it's a ferry boat taking people to a new shore. So I want to say it does feel like there's a sense of normalcy to this. There's a sense of, regardless of what's going on, it does feel important. Here we go. We've got another travel card. We've got another movement card. Okay. So, and you could see this as, I'm getting August, September, October, November. So I almost get that kids will go back to school for the first semester. Something in November may change the next semester, but I get a feeling that we are going ahead on a traditional trajectory here, at least for 3.5 months. So I hope that's helpful, because I'm getting a feeling that we are looking at sort of, until a lot of things have shifted, it's almost better to kind of go along with what is familiar, especially for, we've just been talking about young people, it feels like there's a lot of anxiety, and we don't want them sitting around with a lot of anxiety. It's almost like just even seeing it, instead of looking at it so much in the realm of future academics and stuff like that, to see it as like even just for routine, because that Eight of Pentacles in the past is routine, and children need routine. So unless you have designed something else and have a lovely routine for them to return to this fall, it feels important that there is that familiarity for them. However, I have a feeling over the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to see a lot of creative alternatives springing up. And it's almost as though I sense that a lot of you are getting very creative and are looking at new alternatives. And you might even want to think about, like, sort of after Christmas, thinking about trying something different, even if there is some semblance of a system continuing on. I get a more gracious transition where you've already got new systems in place. And then it's sort of like they don't have to feel that anxiety of the disruption, is what I'm getting. So I hope that helps. Okay. Now, Handle with Care has asked about the assassination attempt. I covered that a little bit last week. If you go check out last week's live, you can find my perspectives on that. And I feel like, yeah, so many people are covering this. I think I'm going to steer clear of that question right now. Yeah, I'm going to go to Shirley Al-Jabai. When will peace come to Gaza? Whoa, okay. Let's look at this one. So, this is such a very, very potent question, as all of them are, really. There aren't no small questions here at the moment. There's so much to be focusing on. And so as I am tuning into this area of the world, it's very interesting because I feel a lot of breath, and I feel like I'm almost sensing down the road, like a future, a timeline, potential future. And what I'm being shown is this incredible, almost like a garden oasis. And I just keep smelling these really phenomenal floral scents, like a beautiful, I just keep sensing a really beautiful garden. And I feel this area of the world being reclaimed. And there's a lot of tears behind it. Like the guides are saying, water that future garden with your tears of today. Know that they're not going down the drain into irrelevance, that they're actually watering something that will reemerge in that beautiful part of the world. It is actually one of the most exquisitely profound, beautiful, like we think about a dark portal that's been hijacked there. And yet I really feel this sense of like a heart chakra there. And if you want to destabilize, they always talk about if you want to kill the beast, you kill something, you go for its heart. So what I feel is the medicine of, I keep hearing just flower medicine, like the medicine of the gentleness and the perfume of flowers that like re-infuse that part of the world with its beautiful potency, is what I'm hearing. So I'm sorry that is not like a real direct answer, but I do feel peace there. And I'm going to say that garden that I'm sensing, when I asked when is that, they said 35, 36 years from now. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't peace before that, but that is when I get that feeling of this phenomenal garden, like a garden sort of paradise, which of course takes time to build and revive. So exactly when, well, let's see what the cards say. Gosh, we've got this. This is that generation. We talked about the generation of young people, and it does feel like there's a lot of healers in this younger generation. And I want to say, like, I just keep hearing words like peace, prosperity, and then I hear like that these new avatars, this next generation, have come in. They're so much more evolved and ready to. It's not like tackling the heavy duty negotiations. It's like lifting the whole thing to an entire different frequency. So, yeah, look at this. When will that happen? We have the hanging man. And yet, look at this. He's hanging on the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. It's like the world tree is what he's hanging on. And it's coming alive. Do you see this at the corners? Do you see that it's bursting into life? So he's hanging in suspense, in suspension, as the tree comes back to life, is what I'm hearing. So there's something very, I want to say, they keep saying this is pre-biblical. This is ancient. And so there is the turning point, which to me happened over a decade ago. And now we are in, the high priestess, she is about holding duality in perfect balance and allowing it to be the springboard spiritually. So look at this, balance. There's something coming into balance here. Like, yeah, I'm hearing 20,000 years of conflict is coming into balance. So this is not a small thing, but we get a yes. Will peace come? Yes. Clearing the way. Clarity comes in the next year even. I mean, Ace of Swords is a new beginning. It's a light bulb. It's an epiphany. It is knowledge. It's new information, but it's old information. And it's also alive. Do you see those green leaves and branches that are hanging off the gold crown? So it's almost like they're saying it's not this religion or that religion that owns that land. It's the land itself is holy. It's not this person's holy land or that person's holy land. It is just holy land. It belongs to everyone. It's a holy place for all of humanity, period. The land wears the crown. Just business as usual here, folks. Okay, Seven of Pentacles again. So I'm going to say this concept is upon us. The land is holy. Not the religions that claim it, but the land is holy. Okay? And how long is it going to take for people to finally drop this narrative of who owns what? Who does it belong to? I'm going to say with a fair amount of dignity, respect for all the suffering and all the complexity. We are talking 20,000 years of distortion around this holy land. I'm getting 7 years. 7 more years of holding this dichotomy so that we can go deeper spiritually with it. But within a year, this is growing. This new vision of this is the holy land, period. The land is holy. That is going to grow. Within a year, that's going to become a narrative that gradually gains traction. Whew, okay. What do those of us who are retired and in our 70s have to contribute to a new world going forward? Isn't this beautiful? We've talked about the young people, and now we're talking about middle-aged people into their elderhood. I have to say I'm blown away. Most of my clients are middle-aged people, a lot of them women, and I am astonished at the rebirth that I'm witnessing in these matriarchs, like women in their 60s and 70s and even into their 80s. It's just phenomenal. It's like actually their really major contributions are beginning now. And just like we need the new youth with their extraordinary gifts, sensitivities, abilities, we need the new elders that aren't like the old elders. We're not going to be the elders of the past. We are literally, those of us that are women are the matriarchs of the future. So, and it's not going to look the way it did before. Let us have a look and see what our collective guides, and when I say that, what I mean is all of our major guides that are coming through the bandwidth of the heart, this power neutral frequency aligned with the greater good of all your guides from wherever they come from, the messages that they're willing to contribute on that bandwidth is what I'm open to channeling and receiving. So there's a lot more guides here than what I have access to personally, is what I'm saying when I say collective guides. Okay. Whoa. Here we are. Those of us retired in our 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s. My gracious. The calm. We've just talked about this priestess. We just talked about, she's doing spiritual work just by sitting still and meditating. That's her contribution. She doesn't do a darn thing outwardly. Nothing. She doesn't move from that throne. She sits there and guards the gate between the conscious and the subconscious. Like, it's a holy role. It's a holy job. So, balancing the polarities, duality, balancing the dilemma of duality and the extreme imbalance that polarity creates, divide and conquer. She sits as a council between the warring factions. And by her mere way she conducts herself, she is a mediator. She sets the tone. She sets the example of mediation just by how she lives her life in inner balance and harmony. So before we even talk about what are you going to do to contribute, how you be is your biggest contribution, because you're a tone setter. And only people that have lived long enough, had enough life experience, had enough personal inward evolution can really do that. It's not about, you don't earn it by going through a certain number of degrees and then you graduate. You don't earn it by, having this many life experiences. You could earn it very quickly. A young person could earn this elderhood wisdom, but it's less likely because it literally usually takes quite a lot of time, humility building, character building, know thyself. We often have to go out in the world and make a bunch of mistakes before we know ourselves. We have to witness a lot. We have to get all wound up and go, I don't know, I'm mad about this and I'm frustrated about that. And we have to come to resolution within ourselves about the things that drive us crazy. So this is the beginning. This is the major contribution, is know yourself and live in that eternal internal peace. Come from that center. Oh, okay. So the answer is the deep philosophical, the counselor, the healer. We will be a council. We will be a council of elder wisdom. And we need to be available. I want to say the elders of the past, what the guides are showing me is that the elders of the past kind of sat removed, and they were brought in, you watch in the movies, they come in and they make one statement after everyone else has spoken. Everyone kind of goes, oh, the elder's spoken, right? But they're often quite inaccessible, and they often are kind of almost speaking in riddles. And, you almost have to like be a special person to even receive the guidance of the elder or the guru or the wise master or whatever. You have to be like a unique seeker on a path. We need to be available to everyone now. That needs to be like, I want to say, given out freely to everyone that is seeking, willing, open enough to receive. So that's interesting. And there'll be a lot of emotion in the upcoming years to navigate, right? He's sitting on this plinth in the middle of the ocean. It's like you're kind of a bit of an island. See, she's also a bit of an island. So we have to be a council of one and be good in our own skin, in our own hearts, in our own souls. And then we hold that tone, and then we offer mediation, counseling. I often call this the coach, the counselor, the healer. Okay, so we got past. Gosh, they're saying yes, meaning we don't have to look very far for need, right? I mean, it's everywhere. People are needing support. They're needing elder wisdom and counsel. It's everywhere. We won't have a shortage of work in terms of that. There's also something about coming into, look at this, right relationship, which includes finding the alchemy of shared love. Whatever that looks like. This can be shared with your plants and your pets. It can be shared with your children and grandchildren. It can be shared with your dearest friends. It can be shared with Creator. And one of the most profound places to find it is to be shared in intentional, co-creative, intimate partnership. Many of us have sworn away from this because it's too much work. But you want to be a wiser counsel with deeper compassion and more to share. Why not look to the places that you're most challenged? And this is a big one for a lot of us. So what are we going to have to contribute? Facing our own fears of the work involved to create dynamic interpersonal relationship. Final card. Ooh. Okay, so this is interesting because it kind of came in upside down. I'm going to turn it over. It's another. We've got, look at this. We've got this card, which is a lot about divine union and love. And then we've got the Lovers following it. So I want to say relationships, being there as holding that frequency and being the counsel of one, the counsel of two, and then alchemizing. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that by holding that frequency and doing our own healing work, and also being available for coaching, counseling, therapeutic process, healing for others is our main contribution. So there we go. Okay, I'm going to go along a little further, see what else is here. What is the significance of the white smoke coming from the White House in DC? Okay. I have no clue about this. So I'm going to jump in just for the heck. see what the guys want to say. I don't know anything about it. I haven't received that intel. It's very interesting. I don't know if this is just some kind of trickster energy, but I was getting, burning all the paper. Okay, let's see what's being shown here. Ooh. Okay. Huh. Very, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to say something a little strange. What else is new? I get a feeling that there's something being like, because I'm like, oh, well, that could be just shredded or destroyed in another way. But there is something that is being, something is being shifted. So whether this is, it's almost like a cleaning, a clearing out of something is what I'm getting. And I'm like, I don't know, is this old systems? Is this like sewers? And then I'm like, is it actually documents? What the heck is it? But you could say, oh yeah, but we need to keep documents because we need proof so that we can, have these trials and make people accountable and stuff. And a little bit what I'm sensing is that is the old paradigm. That's the old, like, if the people are no longer here, if everything has shifted anyway and they have no more power, it doesn't even, like, to go back and continue to trigger that revenge or cause and effect button. The effect is that we've shifted. It's not that they've been held to justice. That's the old narrative. So there's something about, wouldn't we rather just have everything gone and start with a fresh slate and not be digging into the past? So even though I'm saying that, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, but we do still need to know what's taken place. So there's something about, it's not an all or nothing, but there is some stuff that just needs to be released, is what I'm getting. So I don't know, is this actually what's causing the smoke? But there is, according to the cards, there's something toxic, be it information, something in the actual energy field, something in the 3D that needs to be released. So that's what's happening. And look at this, it's a bright thing, a bright new beginning. 3 of Pentacles, 3 of Wands, 9 of Pentacles. It's like reestablishing from a new frequency base is what I'm getting. So not a bad thing. Okay. I feel like we can probably get, oh, thank you for putting your question, Debbie, in capitals. Let us know to lower our already low expectations for what's ahead of. Actually, they have school going, then there isn't much collapse as quick as we hope or want. Okay, so Ramon, I hear you, and what I want to say is that when you think about collapse, I want to give you this analogy of like a basket. For some reason, they're showing me a basket, and they're saying, you can, if you just blow the bottom out of it, everything just falls. But if you blow the bottom out of this part of it and reweave it while this is still there, right? So your children are like kind of safe-ish during that. And then there's something new established over here. You step back over here, and then this bottom gets, so it doesn't all get dropped at the exact same moment, or everything would just go into mass chaos. And it isn't really necessary it doesn't mean there isn't change. It doesn't mean that the shift is well underway. But we want some nets of safety that aren't just about like, to me, the net of safety that would be required to support us if everything went down at once would look like a centralized power dominant model. I don't want that. I personally don't want that. I don't want to replace one centralized power dominant model with another one, even if it starts out pure white, pristine. Centralized power dominant authority corrupts. So let's work on tearing down this part of the system and rebuilding, then it's just like renovating a house. You're going to blow the whole thing apart, or we're going to renovate and eventually create a new house, or are we still going to have parts of the old house to live in while we're building the new one? So it's not about our expectations. Yeah, it's about it. There's actually a wisdom about not everything collapsing, even though it is technically, that it isn't necessarily in 3D all at once, if that makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Hit the like. Thank you, 77 Wild. Okay. Hope I can see. Sorry, Roman again. What more can I do for my physical healing that I'm not aware of or haven't done, please? Thank you for your good questions, and thank you for putting them in capital letters. I really appreciate it. Let's talk about our physical healing for a bit here, because it's not, I want to say it's not, it isn't the least important, it's not the most important, but it definitely is a significant portion of the transformation. And what I'm getting before I lay the cards down is I'm getting that we want to expect, when we talk about things like the med beds, I'm not saying that it is just a placebo effect, but I do believe that the more you believe in something, the better it's going to work. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like that is natural metaphysics. Physics and metaphysics are part of the same science frequency. Oh, I just saw that my computer needs to be plugged in. Hold on a second. I didn't plug my computer in before I started. Let us take a moment here. Thanks for hanging in there with me, folks. Okay. So in terms of our physical, what I've been shown is it's going to be really important to believe that we don't want to continue to just go along blindly with the narrative of deterioration with age, for example. It's not that, we can live forever and there's no need for the body ever to deteriorate in our current paradigm frequency capacity. That is pretty big stretch. But it is well within our capacity to expect a different process around our health and our vitality, and our life force. It isn't like a black and white thing. It's a lot more dynamic. I studied something called process-oriented counseling, and in that therapeutic model, one of the things that they talk about is that health is not some permanent. It's not this thing that you go, oh, there it is. I've reached this plateau and now I'm healthy. We are always in some degree of disorder, and balancing into order, and we kind of roll along like this. And so what is challenging is For example, this is one of the ways I feel like that allopathic medicine really fails, is that it does these diagnoses and then it's sort of like, you're given your your 3-month whatever to live. And you can't tell me that with the amount of credibility and emphasis we give to those systems, that doesn't create a reality. Like, it's just so powerful. Our beliefs, right? Our beliefs are so powerful. So we already know there's people that have healed from extraordinary terminal cancers. We've heard millions of stories like this. There's also lots of people that have done all the right things and didn't heal from it. So it really is, I believe, about frequency, intention. It has a lot to do with your soul contract. It has a lot to do with your evolving destiny, the different timeline paths you choose. But we do have a lot of ability to up level our frequency and support our physical bodies in ways that we haven't been taught. So that's your question. Oh, and I'm going to put it up there. Where did I find it? Okay, hold on. I got to go back and find it. There it is. There we go. Shuffling. All right. Aha. So the up leveling judgment is about the wake up call. It's, Janine used to say, it's go big or go home. It's like up level. And what do you need to know? Okay. So this is the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is, among other things, I want to say your approach to health. So one of the things that this Four of Swords does is it takes time. There is a timing. The person is in repose. So it's often a card related to dis-ease because it's asking us to get back into the frequency of ease. If you can get into the frequency of ease easily, you don't need dis-ease to get you back in there. Think about that. If you can get into the frequency of ease easily, dis-ease is not necessary. Dis-ease comes when you need to be schooled, trained, slowed down, put in time out to learn what specific techniques you can call on to bring yourself into a state of ease. Have you ever noticed when you're sick, you have to surrender at some point? You have to rest. Eventually, in any illnesses or injuries that I've suffered with, my mind is my worst enemy. And I've discovered, I can't handle opioid pain medications. They make my mind just go loopy and feel really uncomfortable and out of my frequency. So I've learned to manage pain a lot with my mind. And so this is a card that has to do with things like meditation, mindfulness practice, coming into ease. How easily do you find yourself in a state of ease? And practicing that is phenomenally helpful. The Three Swords, if you know this card, the Three of Swords, it's the open heart surgery card where we've carried these swords around in our heart for probably decades, maybe lifetimes. And the heart is now open, and it's time to very gently, very delicately, lovingly extract those swords one by one. Once they're extracted, they're up on the wall, and then we lie recovering from the trauma of all that as we build a new golden sword of clarity. So there's a wisdom in accepting that dis-ease is actually an evolutionary upgrade, if we can see it like that. I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but many of my, I want to say, highly actualized, high frequency co-creators and allies believe this. When they get sick, they say, I'm in an upgrade. I'm receiving the pause I need to integrate something that I haven't allowed myself yet. So I hope this is what you haven't been aware of that will support your healing. Yeah, another thing that healing often does is it gets us I don't know if this is your guides or if it's our collective guides, but they're saying gets you up off your butt in the sense of out there looking for answers, right? Like, so we got the 2 of Wands and the 3 of Wands. The 2 of Wands is getting a higher vantage point, having the incentive to get up and go out and look for something. And the 3 of Wands is exploring and experimenting once you've found that. So this guy is standing there and he's like, I don't know, I got to find something. I'm going to look on my globe, my global GPS that I got in my hand here. I'm going to decide where I'm going because I got to go explore somewhere because I've got to look for these answers. And then literally the very next card is the one below it. 3 of Wands is where he gets on his travel clothes and goes on the adventure of exploration. So you can say, if you look at everything that goes wrong in your body with your health, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and say, it's your get up off the couch, get up off your device and go look for something and then go explore, because something new is trying to find its way to you. I often say to people when we get sick, instead of just imagining getting back to well, whatever well looks like that you were before, aim above that, because you integrated a new healing experience that is actually potentially going to take you further than you started out. And I know people say, yeah, but then, you've always got this, you injured your knee, you've always got this weak knee or whatever. Well, your weak knee is something you need, pardon the pun. It is part of now it becomes part of your personal medicine walk. You walk carefully when you put that right foot down for the rest of your life. You're noticing, how do I put my right foot down? Is that bad? Is that bad? This is all about sovereignty. It's all about know thyself. See the blessing, see the call to action. We go back to the first card. King of Wands, call to action, judgment, go big or go home, and reciprocity. Be grateful. Be grateful when you get sick. And be grateful when you learn how to find yourself in ease so easily that you don't need to get sick very often. I think that's a really nice place to leave off. It's been super potent being here with all of you as always. Many blessings. Hi, Lorna, Dee, Freedom, Elizabeth, Debbie, Camilla. Oh, lovely to see you here. So I wish you many blessings. We're going to be back. I think Crystal and I are back on next Tuesday together. Show up at 11 with your questions in capitals. You will be sure to get to them, or as soon after 11 as you can. And when I say 11, I'm talking 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, wherever that falls for you. I wish you all such a beautiful, profound post full moon in Capricorn week. Be gracious, be grateful. See you next week, everybody. Bye for now.